This is a preview, U.S. History, Chapter 11, the Civil War. We have been exploring the issues, the conflicts between North and South that have brought the country to the brink of war. Well, in this chapter, war begins and we actually explore the military strategy, political struggle, outcome, and legacy of the Civil War. Section 1, the Civil War begins. The main idea with Section 1 is that the succession of southern states caused the North and South to take up arms. Why it matters to us now, the nation's identity, the identity of the United States, was truly forged by the Civil War. Our objectives for Section 1. 1, I can explain how the Civil War started. 2, I can explain Northern and Confederate short-sightedness about the duration of the war. 3, I can describe the Northern generals and their initial campaigns in the West. 4, I can describe new weapons and other changes in warfare. And 5, I can explain Northern and Southern military strategies to capture their opponent's capital. Our terms and names. Fort Sumter is a Union fort in Charleston, South Carolina. The Anaconda Plan, 3-part Union strategy to win the Civil War. Bull Run, battle won by the Confederates. Stonewall Jackson, Confederate general. George McClellan, a Union general. Ulysses S. Grant, Union general. Shiloh, a Union victory. David G. Farragut, commander of the Union Navy. Monitor, Union ironclad ship. Merrimack, Confederate ironclad ship. Robert E. Lee, Confederate general. And Antietam, a Union victory. Objective 1, I can explain how the Civil War started. Once they had seceded from the Union, the Confederate States began to take over federal property in the South. And in March of 1861, the Confederacy attacked Fort Sumter, and they eventually captured the fort, and it became part of the Confederacy. And as a result of this capture, Lincoln decided to go to war. So with the attack and capture of Fort Sumter, the Civil War had begun. Our second objective, I can explain Northern and Confederate short-sightedness about the duration of the war. As war began, both North and South, both the Union and the Confederacy, expected a short and glorious war. Both sides expected that they would be the victor. They both described right as being on their side, and they both felt that the other side was going to go down to defeat rather easily. Just to get the lay of the land, the North had more people, more factories, more food production, better railroads, and a skilled leader in Lincoln, while the South had better generals, and their soldiers were eager to defend their Southern way of life. And one other factor, the North would have to take land in the South to win the war. The North would actually have to go into the South and capture those states to be able to win the war. The North plan, the Union plan, known as the Anaconda Plan, had 3 prongs, named for a snake that suffocates its victims. One prong was the North plan to blockade southern ports to keep the Confederacy from getting any supplies. They were going to split the Confederacy at the Mississippi River, and the third prong was they would capture the capital at Richmond, Virginia. The actual first battle of the war was at Bull Run, and that was won by the Confederates. I can identify the Northern generals and their initial campaigns in the West. General Ulysses S. Grant captured 2 forts in Tennessee. Both sides suffered heavy losses at a battle at Shiloh, and once he had captured the forts, Grant pushed on toward the Mississippi River. While Grant was moving towards the Mississippi River, David Farragut, who was the naval commander for the Union, captured the port of New Orleans. Remember, that was another one of the prongs, split the Confederacy at the Mississippi. I can describe the new weapons and other changes in warfare, Objective 4. The mini ball was a significant change. It was a bullet or a shell that was more accurate and more deadly than any previously used. Because of the accuracy of the rifles with the mini ball, trenches became necessary for battle, which changed strategies. And also the ironclad ships showed up. The Monitor for the Union, Merrimack for the Confederacy, and the ironclad ships made wooden ships obsolete, so changed the way naval battles were fought. I can explain northern and southern military strategies to capture their opponent's capital. 1862, the Union Army marched on Richmond, Virginia. Confederate General Robert E. Lee was in command in Richmond. He forced the Union to retreat. He was able to successfully defend Richmond. He then began marching on Washington, D.C., and Lee's troops won the Second Battle of Bull Run, then crossed the Potomac River into Maryland. The Union General, George McClellan, was given the Confederate plans by some of his troops. This was absolutely just a stroke of luck that the troops came across the plans. They turned them over to the general, and he was able to discover that Lee's troops were separated from Stonewall Jackson's troops at the time, and so McClellan decided to march against Lee. And they were met at Antietam, Maryland, and defeated in the bloodiest battle of the war. Following that, McClellan was fired by Lincoln, and the reason that he was fired is he did not follow the Confederate troops back into Virginia. It's thought that had McClellan followed the Confederate troops into Virginia and taken care of them there, that the war would have been shortened. In fact, the war could have been won at that point. And that concludes our preview for Section 1.